All right, what's going on, you guys? It's Eric here. Just want to go over some Friday big money options, some things I want to bring some attention over to. Just a couple things that came in near the end of the day that were kind of eye-opening. You got this fairly short expiration date. Think of it this way, not even half the month, a little over half the month left. So two about 3 weeks in terms of this expiration. They're spending 2.4 mil on a strike that's in the money. So they're paying a hefty premium for it. But that expiration date's pretty short. Doesn't really help us get a target as to what direction or how far it expects to go. But it's expecting that Microsoft should be dropping a bit further from this point. 2.4 mil is quite a bit. Let's go into the next one, XBI. A little bit more time, about a month. Scores of 52 as a result. The strike is out of the money. 1.6 mil is quite a bit. It is one of the sectors of the ETF. Let me pull up what exactly it is real quick. XBI. That is biotech. So they're expecting biotech to go down. Let's see, what else? Tesla, oh, this was one I really wanted to point out. Tesla here, 110 scored. They bought a lot of time. Each one of these options is over $4,000. And so, their strike, keep in mind, this is one of those strikes that is before they're split. So that's why you have this weird decimal and weird cents on the end of that. But they're aiming for what, $14 below. So expecting that it's going to go down quite a bit going into the next 2 years, actually. MPC, this one, $4 move, but very short expiration, 2 weeks, right? 2 weeks for this one to be done with. And keep in mind, that one actually had a couple came in, right? That's not the only one. We have this other one, strike 104, for a little shorter time frame, only 1 more week. So expecting something to make a move on this MPC. Let me pull up on my chart, just glance at it real quick. Marathon Petroleum. So they're thinking that, let's see, it doesn't have earnings. They're expecting that it's going to relax down a bit. Interesting to see. Okay. Right now, I wouldn't necessarily be betting against oil. That's just what I would say. But again, depending on where the oil source is coming from, they may or may not make more money due to what's going on. Tesla, quite a bit out of the money. Look at that strike. That's really far out. And they bought a lot of time. So this might be, expecting that it's going to move up in the next year. But the score is pretty low. It's not really showing that much aggression in this situation. More Tesla, PKI, QQQ. Okay, so we got some, right? This is a pretty big score in terms of it. Let's go ahead and just put that on there. 118 score, 257. So drop a little bit, $7, but by next, 2 more weeks for that one. Here's another big Tesla one. Here's one that everybody was kind of looking at during the hours, or during the morning. We got a 110 score. Strike is a bit out of the money. End of the year, there's a lot of people talking about how the bottom of this market will be around the end of the year or the beginning of next year with earnings season, simply because it'll reflect how inflation may have peaked, and then now we're starting to reverse course in terms of the inflation or the interest rates are taking effect, pushing down prices and therefore creating better and more economic balance that we're actually looking for. So, prices do have to relax back down, and, SPY going back to previous pre-pandemic highs and pre-pandemic values is actually something, that you could imagine is negating the previous evaluations during the pandemic when we printed all that money, right? So now that they're saying, hey, we're going to take money out of the system, that's what these types of bets are saying, and saying, hey, you know, the interest rates are going to continue to go up. It's going to cause a little bit more pain, cause assets prices to come back down, and there will be a, you know, temporary or permanent bottom. We'll see. It's hard to predict that right now because nobody knows exactly what the Fed's going to do. There's a lot of talk about how they may relax on those interest rates and start bringing them back down in order to stimulate demand because they may have destroyed it too much. And that may be the reason for any future rallies coming up. But if you can imagine, we've got in the big money section, aside from that, these Tesla ones, we've got some big puts, if you may imagine. Now, let me real quick just give you a quick unusual options overview here. Beyond Meat, maybe, you know, jump back up because I heard something about the CEO stepping down, something about biting somebody's nose. It's weird. CEO stepping down. Maybe there's going to be people buying it up after that kind of a push down, right? AFLAC, SBS, MVIS. Oh, that's a name I haven't seen in a while. This one went through a short squeeze during, you know, the previous situation. Here's another one, CELH. We did have our eyes on this one, simply because big money had an interesting situation with it last week. Let me pull that up for you guys. The two that we technically have our eyes on are that one and ON. Okay, so here we have CLH calls 120. I don't think it's gone up though. These may be worth less right now. Let me double check. They got in at 91.40 some. Yeah, this is down to $82. So they got in at 91. Ooh, they got in at a bad area, bad spot. So this one actually has not fared too well. If it was they were selling it to the market, then yeah, they may be up. But in terms of this, you know, this $12 million bet, it looks as if that it's actually hurting now. Now, the one I was pointing out here, they 105 now. So they may have added to the position. It seems like it could be a similar person. But in this situation, only 500K. Datadog, Netflix, Shopify. Okay, so when you look at unusual options, you want to peek at these scores. The score here is our way of giving you an idea of the aggression of the score, how unlikely it is that, you know, this would play out. And if they put a lot of money on that, ultimately meaning that, hey, somebody might know something. And so there's an aggression score, you know, we explain to everybody in our Discord, that is related to the way that these options are perceived in terms of the option market. BlackBerry, MU. Okay. So, you know, throughout the week, we still did see a bit of those puts being taken, but there definitely was a bit of a rally throughout the week. Real quick, let's just pull up my chart here. And let's talk real quick about what did happen. Remember when I was telling you guys about how as we approach this, you know, as we approach this area, there's a good chance we're just going to chop it up for a little bit. It's not going to be a clean breakthrough unless some sort of black swan event, some sort of thing with the economy happens, and, you know, big news where a lot of fear suddenly happens, it drops into the market. I want to point out this here too. You know, we had PPI data and CPI data, right, that came in talking about how inflation had not peaked. So we opened up down here, tested a little bit lower, but then we rallied all the way back up. Now, look at when this has happened before too. Let me actually just take off all my indicators. Not position. Okay. That type of action, you know, this lower and then shoot back up into the zone. Look at that. Right here, what we're saying here is we got this zone, right? You could even argue the zone maybe up here. we peaked out below it and then shot right back into it. Look at that here. So oftentimes, see, and as well, even up here, peak out of it, or you can even say out of this segment, peak out of it down here. And so it actually does look like in this situation, you know, we might actually see a bit of a rally back up toward here before further movement down. It's hard to really say right now because there's so many uncertainties in the air of what the Fed is planning to do. Basically, I'll tell you this, right? So this is my copy over from previous. This is from up here, you see. Right. This yellow copy is just from this. Okay. So this type of movement, you can argue this part here you might see a little bit lower before we rebound, or if that actually is it, be aware once we break this downtrend, this line that I have drawn right here, once we break above this, we could see a little bit more of a base being formed. Right now, it's still respecting that. So just like up here, you have this downtrend, but you also could imagine there was kind of this downtrend here. So watch for us to potentially have a little bit of a rally to an area, potentially up here is what I would say. And if there is still more Fed, right? Fed makes their decision in November of how much to raise interest rates by. If it happens to be a surprise or bigger than we expect, then I would expect that type of movement, that type of, you know, shooting down from that. Okay. A lot of these reactions we had that were quick movements away had to deal with financial policy being, you know, taking effect, or hearing about what was being planned for financial policy. Let's be clear, okay? And there was also, this is kind of an, I would say a little bit much, but this could play out. The one I would say is a little much would be saying something bigger like that, saying that this was the peak out here and we could go further down. Wouldn't rule that completely out, but I think something like this is more likely, where we already have this pop down. We're gonna maybe consolidate down here, potentially retest where we just peaked down to. And if that doesn't break, then we're just gonna have a bunch of buy up. And remember, I keep telling my students from ICA, when we had 11 days of Apple rallying straight, and then here we had another great rally that put us back into some pretty awesome, right? Think of it this way, we had from here to here, we had a 16% rally. From here to here, we had a 10% rally. So these rallies back up, these bear market rallies can be quite, you know, quite violent, quite quick. But remember that we still haven't exactly broken that downtrend, that overall downtrend either. Right here is still exists. So, you know, we could come back up to it again and retest and then reject, or potentially go up and start to actually say, hey, we're actually at a bottom. But first time down, very quick reaction. We came back down to the same area. So if this area holds, then we'll have better confidence that we could head back up. If we do start to break down, though, that's going to be our indicator that, hey, there is more downside. You know, you don't want to see it breaking down. Right now, you don't even want to see it breaking down below where we previously went, right? This low that was just recently made is definitely where you want to keep in mind. A lot of stop losses are going to be set there. If you're following the ICT model as well, you can imagine that usually traps people first, goes back as well, and then it's going to have another move down So ICT, I would even say maybe put respect that, or there's also some liquidity above here and some liquidity up here. So it wouldn't be surprising to see it come back, tap that before heading down, which again, like I said, with November, I think that's actually, one thing, the more likely scenario right now. People are like, oh, the data that came out wasn't too terrible. I thought it was, but we start to see a little bit higher, some shorts start to get out, right? Shorts start to get out, shorts start to get out. We see a push up, and then all of a sudden in the middle of November, when we get more data and we find out what the Fed actually wants to do, then we maybe will come back down, retest it to make lower lows. Now, if the Fed does decide that they aren't going to raise rates as crazily as they previously said, or they're not going to change that course of action, then I think we will head further up. But that's all dependent upon how this data plays out as time goes on. Right now, with oil prices are going to go up. The whole Inflation Act that we passed just injected more money as well. So there's a lot of inflationary forces at play that we got to keep in mind. Okay. It is, it's just Friday. I just wanted to get you guys a quick update on this since I'm going to be pretty busy over the weekend. But yeah, talk to me if you guys have questions, if you guys have other things that you're still uncertain about with your trades, please let me know. We do have a couple of guys that recently just made back either their investment in terms of the class payment, or the tuition for class, or they're making back a certain percentage of their portfolio as they've continued to trade. So again, share with us what it is that's worked, what hasn't worked. Go ahead and talk in ICA graduates if you're in there. And yeah, let's keep the trading going and keep the conversation going. There's a lot of great information being shared in there. If you haven't joined Investor Central Academy or even the ICC channels as well, the links are below in the description. Please don't hesitate to contact us if there are questions as to how to get things going. Again, this is Eric with eRoot Charts, Investor Central Academy. We'll chat again soon. You guys have a great rest of your day.